Photographing Buildings Simplified. How I make a complicated thing easy. Hi, welcome to my YouTube channel. I'm mcEvoy, architectural, construction and real estate photographer based over here in England. Another lovely rainy day here. So yeah, I photograph buildings. This is what I do, and I'm also the creator and all things at the splendid Photography Explained podcast. But this week on my blog, a nice subject which I'm going to do a couple of posts on this one, so let's get into the script of it rather than me try and guess what I'm going to say. Photographing buildings might seem like a daunting prospect, but it does not need to be. It really doesn't. See, buildings are an endless source of inspiration, interest and subject matter, and most of us have been in a building, so a great part of photography to be in. It's one of those things you won't struggle for things to photograph because there are quite literally buildings everywhere. So to make photographing buildings easy, we need to break this down into its component parts, and they are taking the photos, the gear that you use to take the photos, and more importantly, or as importantly, the gear you don't use, and processing the images. So breaking this down and looking at each in turn, it gives us a fighting chance of making this doable. I mean, even an easy thing to do. Easy might be pushing it, but certainly doable. What if you just use a phone? Well, I will cover this. I've added this question to everything that I write and talk about because so many people these days start photography with a phone, and I want to tell you what else you can get out of photography by progressing beyond a phone. Nothing wrong with taking photos with a phone only. It's just that there's more out there, and I don't want you to miss out. So I'll cover that, okay? And I'm going to cover those three things in 3 separate blog posts, so I can go into a nice amount of detail on them. So in the blog post, who am I? Well, I'm a professionally qualified photographer. I'm not professionally qualified in speaking my native language, clearly. I'm an associate member of the British Institute of Professional Photography. Now, I'm also professionally qualified in construction, being a member of the Chartered Institute of Building. Chartered member, yeah, it's the same thing. I didn't want to say chartered twice in the same sentence because that would be rubbish. And excuse the coats, I didn't move them from the door, which is a bit shoddy, I know, but I'm sure we'll get by. So, yeah, I work in construction. I've been photographing all my life. I've got donkey's years of experience in both. So this is what I know about. This is what I do. And I teach people how to do this good stuff. Right, another post I just want to touch on my blog post, mcEvoyphotography.com. Let me tell you what the 10 types of architectural photography are. Now, there's a reason I mention this one, because architectural photography seems to be the overarching term for any kind of building photography. Now, I'm here to say that's not right. The overarching term for building photography should be building photography. It's the photographing of buildings. It's not the photographing of architecture. That's different to me because I do construction photography. Now, you wouldn't say construction photography was architectural photography, would you? Would you say real estate photography was architectural photography? No, but it's all building photography. So you'll hear this a lot from me. I guess I am trying to own the term building photography, but sorry, it's just a thing to me that annoys me. So building photography explained. So building photography is the photographing of buildings. Any building at any stage in its life, be it construction of a new building, photographing something you're walking past, photographs for an architect, photographs for a client, real estate photography. It's all building photography because you're photographing buildings, okay? Right, I'm going to stop with that now. So yeah, the 3 areas, taking the photos. How you approach taking photos changes the photos that you get. It changes the content, it changes the style, and it also has an influence on the quality. So I'll go into this in quite a lot of detail because starting with the end in mind is such a phrase that I love to use. When you're going to go out and photograph a building, you can get there and it's like, well, what do I photograph? So with practice, you'll know what you're going to be photographing. And it makes it so much easier and more enjoyable. So yeah, we'll go into that one, and I will teach you about my specialist skill. Now, don't tell anybody. I have a special skill with my photography, and it's this. When I get to a location, I do this special thing. I walk around and look. That's it. I walk around and look. I don't get my camera out and start taking photos. Not unless there's stunning light happening or a rainbow's appeared or there's lightning coming down or anything. Lightning coming down? No, I walk around and have a good look and see what's going on. Study the scene. Just take it all in. And that helps me to plan the shots that I'm going to take. Anyway, more on that next week. Gear. Right, gear. Now I've got a lot of gear. Relative to other people, I've probably got a lot of gear, but I don't use a lot of gear, and I've got a lot less gear than I used to have. Spoiler alert, I used to go on a shoot and take everything with me in a massive bag. It weighed a ton. I got weighed down. It got in the way. I couldn't use it to climb a scaffold. I couldn't use it to get into tight spaces. But I thought I needed to take anything. Now I take a 20-litre backpack with minimal stuff. Sure, I've got some spare stuff in the car in case something fails, but I'll tell you the gear that I use on a shoot, and we're talking modern day? Talking last week, I went out with this exact setup and photographed a construction site. And I use that gear for all the stuff I do. I don't use much, and you don't need to. And then there's processing the images. This has got to be accurate. It's got to be correct. It's got to be technically correct. And the building's got to be shown in the right size, scale, and proportions. Unless you're doing funkiness. And if you're doing funkiness, that's fine. Don't do funkiness and give your photos to a real estate agent because they won't pay you. Okay, what if I just use a phone? Well, we'll come on to that, won't we? Right, sales time. Now, if you're interested in this stuff, which I hope you am because you're watching a YouTube channel with the description of how you can make complicated things such as photographing buildings simplified. Oh, that was wrong, wasn't it? As you're watching a video titled Photographing Buildings Simplified, I assume you're interested in this. Excuse me. So I've got a course, How to Become a Real Estate Photographer. Just head over to rickmcavoyphotography.com/courses and you can find out all about it there. It's just me talking into my phone like this, telling you what you need to know. And a plug for the Photography Explained podcast as well. Well, why not while I get to the end of this one? The Photography Explained podcast has its own website, which is imaginatively photographyexplainedpodcast.com. How do I come up with this stuff? Right, I'm done there. I've mentioned my blog. I've got a YouTube channel you're watching stuff on. And that's it. So thanks for watching. Next week, we'll get into this in some more detail, which I'm looking forward to. I've not written these posts yet, so this is the kind of thing I genuinely love to do. Go into a great amount of detail about one thing, which is good for me. It helps me, and it helps me improve, and it'll help you as well. So thanks for watching. See you soon. Take care, stay safe, as an email just comes in on my screen which has distracted me. And I'll see you on the next video, hopefully. Cheers from me, Rick.